Guys, it's Colton Lindsay. Oh, fuck, I started it early and I said the F word to start it. Hey guys, it's Colton Lindsay here with Winning the Inner Game on the Winning Series interviews. Hey, I got a superstar on here today. And before I get to him, I just want to remind you guys to go check out two different products that I highly recommend. As first is go to fearlessagent.com. Make sure you guys can check that out. Get into the coaching and training program immediately. It's changed my life and it's changing the lives of probably about 25 to 30 agents every single month that are just blowing up to a new level. Also, if you guys haven't checked out Mojo Dialer, you should definitely get in with Mojo because you cannot be in the real estate business without that. Okay, guys, so stepping up today, I want to introduce you guys to someone that is one of North America's top prospecting agents. How would you like to be able to easily set qualified listing appointments with more expireds, more FSBOs, and just the people you talk to? Well, today you're going to learn from one of the world's very best, Mr. Sold, Deric Lipski. Welcome to the show. How you doing, my friend?
What up, Colton?
That's Deric Lipski for you, closing another deal. Deric, so welcome. How you been, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm trying to make it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
life can't get better.
That's good to hear. So you've been through obviously some personal challenges the last year and a half and still managed to push through into this business. I think a lot of people see your videos and probably just think that it's life is a piece of cake and that business is a piece of cake and there's no challenges. Is that the reality of how life and business is?
Yeah, pretty much.
Tell us more.
No, it ain't like that, man. It's hard. It's a struggle, man. You know what I mean? Listen, it's a struggle without having that exterior stuff affecting your business anyways. And then to have that extra pressure and people telling you from every training seminar there is, leave that at the front door when you walk in. You try to leave that at the front door when you walk in the business. It's not easy, man. That's just on your mind 24/7, you know? Especially when it's a life-changing thing. This stuff can drive you batty, you know?
Well, and the reality of this, one thing that I've learned, I've been in the real estate business for 10 years, that no matter how perfect you plan out the next, let's say 2016 to be, or 2015, or whatever the next year is, you plan it out to look perfect, right? And then just shit fucking happens. At least one major colossal piece of shit happens. Am I right or right with that?
Dude, yeah, absolutely. Life gets in the way, and you have a plan, and God has a plan for you, and you want to go this way, and God's like, I have you the palm of my hand. It's going to go the way I want it to go, and it goes that way, And there's ups and downs. You try to learn from it. Like I learned a lot from this thing that I went through. It changed my life, and it did a lot of things positive for me, but it also did a lot of things negative. I pretty much lost everything. So it's basically one of the fish out of water stories where I have to rebuild everything, including most importantly my mindset, which is one of the main things you have to focus on right away, and then continue to do your business.
So I want to come back to this topic a little bit, and really from one of our conversations we had the other day about how you've really come closer to God over this, your whole life and things you've gone through in the last while. Before that, take maybe 60 to 90 seconds and give us from where you're at today, how you got to where you're at in your business and to where everyone knows Mr. Sold and Deric Lipski. So from what drove you to get into real estate, how did you become one of the top prospectors, and how did you become Mr. Sold?
All right. So good question. So I graduated college. I bartended. I had a degree in accounting. I worked 3 jobs for myself through college. Got in. I was, in other words, dating this chick. My best friend was a realtor. She's like, oh, you could probably sell stuff too, and you should try it. Have you ever tried selling anything? And I was like, you mean legal or illegal stuff? He said you should get sales. So I went in. I was like, all right. So I tried getting real estate. My first year as an accountant with a degree, I was working 70 hours a week. I think I made $38,000 for the year, and they worked the shit out of me. The first year in real estate, I did it part time, and I think I did 45,000, and I only worked a few hours out of the week. And I was like, oh, there's a difference here. So the second year, I went into it a little bit more, and I was just doing buyers, and I did about 100K. The third year, I got over 200. I'm like, dude, this is a no-brainer. Like, I have a degree in this, but this is what's paying the bills. So the whole point of how I got there was I wanted it. So I wanted it. Once I got that first taste of that money, man, it's a powerful drug, man. You get a taste of that, you're like, I want more. How do I to get more. And when you're young and aggressive, it's the best time to go out there and just make a name for yourself. So I started going to doors, knocking on them, expireds, not even knowing what to say. Before this is pretty Mike Ferry anybody. I didn't. For me, they were already out, but I didn't know them. I'm like, hey, your home didn't sell. What happened? You know, so I was already doing it without even knowing. And then when my buddy came to my office, who was in Ferry, he started doing it. And I was like, oh, you got scripts? Oh, you make phone calls? I was like, this is awesome. So I dove right into it, 2 feet, man, full immersion. After my first event, in fact, it's funny. My first Mike Ferry event, if you're in coaching, you go for free. I didn't have a ton of money at the time, so I went under my friend's name because he wasn't going to go. So I said, "Oh yeah, I'm Jerry Parent." I had his business. I'm not going to like it. And it was in New York City, and I remember I saw Ron, who happens to be Mike Ferry's son-in-law, Cronin. I was like, dude, I like that guy on stage. I want to do this. I signed up for coaching that day, and I wanted him to be my coach. And after that, man, I just started diving right into it and just, coaching for multiple years, calling. And at that time, no one was really doing it. These videos that we do, there was nothing like that around. You had to basically learn from what they had and just kind of figure it out, trial and error. And so I just got.
What year was this? What year was it what year did you get into a coaching or training program?
Had to be 04. Yeah,
2004.
2004, yeah. Did about 10 years training with those guys, just harnessing my stuff. When I really started to become Mr. Soul was when I really decided to get into some NLP. I really upped my script partners. I went from role playing 5 times a week to role playing 10 times a week. And that's one of the reasons we started getting and told each other in 2010 and 11, because you saw the videos, I saw your videos. I go, oh, here's someone who's making videos just like me. And you were doing it for sale by owner. You weren't really dabbling, expired. I hated FISBOs. I never wanted to do it. Then I saw you do it, and I go, oh, this guy can teach me something. And I think we kind of gave each other a little piece of the other side going, this is a little different here, And everyone ever asked me, like, how'd you learn to get so good at FISBOs? I'm like, Colton Lindsay, man. He just, I was always doing this. I didn't like this script. Here's a, I'll come back. And I don't even know that, I'm doing a survey. I didn't like that whole thing. I want to go there and close them. And I saw you doing and go, dude, why didn't I think of that? This is the same language, just tweaked a little bit, But
yeah.
And then I just started getting that, 10 role plays, East Coast and West Coast, started getting sharper and sharper, and boom, man, it just kind of went off from there.
So why you mentioned East Coast, West Coast, and your role play partners? What was the value with that?
All right, so East Coast is very, like me, is very, hard, quick closes, bulldog style. West Coast is more kind of laid back and like, yeah, man, and it just, you still close. I'm not taking anything away from you guys, but just a lot softer close, and it's more friendly. So when I had East Coast and West Coast, I'd make a blend, and that's what you hear in those videos is my blended version of both of those. So it's a little dabble of both,
Well, and that comes back to with NLP and personality profiles and be able to identify what type of person you have on the phone and then adapt with that in your language. So nice. I like that. So now, you're moving forward. You trained for them with Mike Ferry for about 10 years. What do you think over that 10 years that new agents now have an advantage of that maybe an agent like in the early 2000s really didn't have to take advantage of?
Well,
if that makes sense.
I think different kind of coaching. So it's not just this way. See, Mike is a great guy. I never take anything from his company. Listen, they gave me the framework to start all this. But what they don't teach you is what goes in between those lines, right? When you ask a certain question, they don't teach you the in-between lines. You have to learn that yourself. Like, that's the basic structure of the conversation, but it's the dialogue in between that makes it a conversation, right? So, and now with these videos and the ones I created where you can actually see, like, if someone says this, how do you take them down? You say A, B, and C, and you say it like this. I didn't have that then. We didn't have that. People tell me now, like, thanks for your video, like, I was so scared to do expireds. I didn't know how to do it. But after seeing you, I called and I got 3 appointments. I'm like, wow.
Well, and that's where you just don't know what you don't know, right? And when there's only, and like, not to take anything away, like you said, from the Mike Ferry organization, because they've been around for 40 years, right? But now you've got the availability through YouTube, Facebook groups, teleseminars are huge now, right? You've got so many different angles of which you can learn. That, like you said, you can see in between the lines. It's funny because I've been to I think 2 Mike Ferry events. I haven't really trained a lot with them at all, but the 2 I've been to, it seems like two things one thing I always disagreed with is that he says 25 to 35% of your business should come from your SOI and referrals. Everything else should be FSBOs or expireds and new incoming business. And I always thought that was really stupid, right? I was just thinking, well, if I could build a business that is a lot easier to generate, wouldn't that make sense? And you get someone big up on stage like Mike Darda or, what's her name, Lucy from Ohio, right? These guys doing 200-300 deals a year themselves. They're obviously not just fucking calling FSBOs and expireds. True or true. I mean, they got to be calling something else.
That's the thing. They don't tell you about that kind of stuff. They don't tell you that they're running billboard ads. They're doing TV spots. They're doing mail outs. They're hammering their SOI and stuff like that. They don't tell you that because I don't think Mike wants him to say that on stage. He wants to push his product, and that's what he should do. But at the same point,
yeah, it's his business, absolutely. However, the one thing, the message that is I believe in creating massive value for everyone, and people can count on me to empower them. I just invite others to do the same. With the new platform of YouTube and social media, I just think that there's so much opportunity for new agents. So what is the one lesson, the one thing that in the last, you're almost 15 years in the business? Yeah, you are 15 years, you old son of a gun. 15 years. So how old were you, 25 when you got started?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're getting old, dude.
Old guy.
So in 15 years, if there was one lesson that could make or break your entire business, that if you were a new agent, you could go back to Deric Lipski 15 years ago and say, hey, Deric, freaking do this. What would that one thing you tell Deric 15 years ago?
That's a good question. The one thing, I guess it'd just be, probably a couple things, but I guess the main thing would be, keep making the phone calls, prospect your balls off. If you have nothing else to do, you should have no problem making these fucking phone calls, dude. Like, you got to be making these calls. Like, this is not fun and games. Like, I coach people and they do, I did 3 this week and I did 10, and I'm like, dude, I'm doing 50 a day. Are you shitting me? I get it done in 4 hours, and you tell me you have struggled to do 10. Well, I don't know the number. Find the numbers. The expired, the for sale by owners, your database, just sold. Like, there's more than enough numbers to call anytime. So it's a numbers game, man. You got to pound it. You know what I mean? And really sharpen your axe every day. The guys, if you ever watch those, I don't know if you ever watch those lumberjack competitions, they have these guys who chop the trees, and they have these 2 guys. One guy usually just says, fucking whack, 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 and he just keeps going at it. You have another guy who's hitting it like 5 times, stopping, sharpening his axe, boom, 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 sharpen his axe, boom, boom, boom. And the guy, you think the guy who was just continually whacking it would win, but it's a sharp axe, man. It cuts that tree down quicker. So you got to get that skill set sharp.
Yeah, you would think the guy that is continually whacking it would win, but the guy that sharpens it, he usually comes out on top, right? It's just weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
How that works. So anyways, moving forward then, so that would be it, prospect. And today with the way you've got Mojo, you've got Cole's Realty Source, which has been around a long time, you've got so many different places to get phone numbers. There shouldn't be an excuse of, I don't have phone numbers, right? If you don't have phone numbers, it's just you coming up with an excuse, right? Cool. So tell us a little bit of where was your best year in real estate? I think there was 1 month. Didn't you take like 37 listings in 1 month or something crazy like that?
I went on 31 appointments and took 27 of them. That was a January. 27 of it.
And so tell us about that, because I remember that story very, very.
That day, so it should be known that obviously, if you're a realtor and you're about making money, it's nice to go out on New Year's Eve and party your ass off. It's another thing to be professional. Go, you know what? I can do that any other day, any other Friday, Saturday of the week. I got to make sure I'm focused because January 1 is the biggest day for expired. So I got to be focused, razor sharp, in here early, pulling numbers up, deleting stuff that's crap, and getting on the phone. So that's what I did that January 1st. And I think I had, it was 200-300 leads. I went through the whole thing. Now, I didn't get all 31 appointments that day. I think that day I booked 9 appointments. But within that month, calling all those expires from the first and going on appointments, it was like 31 appointments total and 27 listed with me. So you can imagine that come March and April of that year, I was like, let's do this. I'm buying a new house. So it was a lot of money. And it's like, it was just sitting there waiting for me. And I got to be honest with you, there's probably only one maybe 2 people in this office that whole day besides me.
Okay, so 31 appointments gone on, 27 appointments 27 listed, right? So tell us about the growth of your business. When did it reach the peak, and what did it look like when you're in your peak of the Mr. Sold?
I mean, I think like everybody else, '06, you had the peak of the market and house was selling for top dollar. Just you could just make it happen, and it just happened. Like you didn't have to be good; it just happened. You know what I mean? It's nice to have a skill set, so it was up and having a focus of where you want to go. But just like everybody else, after '06, it sort of came down and come back to it comes back in waves. Do you know what I mean? But the constant of the business that we're in, besides like most guys dying, if you prospect, you can kind of control. We talked about this before. You can control your time. You don't have to live and die by your phone. You know what I mean? Like when I go home, I put this thing down. I don't need to keep it on or even pay attention to it because I set my own appointments. I don't have to worry about that. My listings are being shown by buyer's agents. Do you know what I mean? I put the work in the morning and I do my appointments in the afternoon and I come home and live a normal life. I mean, I still come in on Saturdays. I don't work Sundays, and I make a good living at doing that.
So tell us about what when you were doing at that time frame, 2006, 2007. What was the peak? How many deals per year you were doing? Did you have staff? Did you not have staff? Was it just yourself?
Pretty much have always never really done the team model. I don't have a big thing. I think at the peak of it, I was probably around 60 deals, which was a lot for me here to handle for one guy. I always have an assistant, come and go, whether it be an assistant or an in-office assistant. Typically don't have. I might have a couple agents that will give buyer leads too if I don't want to do them. But typically, I'm a big listing guy. I mean, I focus 80% of my business is listings, 20% is buyers.
So what does 60 deals create in income?
That year was a little over 300.
Okay, so one of the challenges that I think if there's agents listening or they'll watch this in the future that are from Massachusetts, one of the things there's a lot of agents are great at discounting their commissions. Is that right?
Dude, most listings here are 4%. If you look at MLS, it's 4%. 80 to 90% of the listings are 4%. For me to get 5 is crazy, but for me to get 6, like I'm known for getting 6 and sometimes even 7. It's like people are like, "Oh, how did you do that? How does that happen? You're ripping them off." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ripping them off. I got the home sold for 20 grand over asking in 28 days, and I'm ripping them."
So what is the difference in, when there's a general belief system in all the agents to do a 4% listing, what's the difference to get 2-3% higher in commission? How is that even possible?
Well, I think it comes down to skill set for yourself, in your scripts and dialogue, and also getting the seller on your team motivated to want to do that. Like, hey, listen, we can do this and offer the same commission, or we can offer a bit more to entice the agents who have legitimate buyers to even look at your property versus going to the competition. And at the end of the day, do you want more buyers here or less buyers? I want more. Well, do you think we should try the 6% or go with the normal 5? I mean, I don't even put 4 on there because it's ridiculous.
So with these agents that are taking 4 and 5%, are they splitting them 2 and 2, 2.5, 2.5? Is that how it looks?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, so they're not even. And then when you come in at 6, then obviously you're offering 3% and 3%, so that you're still making more, and the other agent's more enticed to come show that listing. So then ultimately they're getting sold for higher, right? Okay, cool. So moving forward then, what does your business look like today? That has anything changed? Is it still the same model, or what are you looking at today?
Yeah, no, it's pretty much the same model. I mean, I just recently got the divorce, so that was the last couple of years has been hell broken loose. But since September, I finished the trial, so September come over, I just started going back up again. You know what I mean? So I think in September I took 10 listings alone in that 1 month. So
September you took September you took 10 listings. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what changed from August to September?
Expireds.
Sorry, you cut out. Was that expireds?
8 of them were expireds.
8 of them were expired. So what changed from August to September?
For me, I got that weight off my shoulders. So that's what it was. I mean, I could have done that probably every month, but with having trial and it's losing everything and having your family go through stuff and just really life being chaotic, just every night waking up in cold sweats and just trying to figure out where you are. It's just hard to focus at work. I was here and I never not made my calls. Every day I made the calls, just they weren't effective because I wasn't in the right mindset. Like I was here physically, but my brain was 2 blocks behind it.
So how important is it for the agents out there watching to make sure that not only are you on your calls, but you're on your A game when you're making your calls. You're there, you're present, you're fully focused.
Yeah, I mean that's money time, so you have to be doing that. You know that, Colton, yourself. You got to be on there. You got to have, try to put your best foot forward. Have your routine set up so that every day it is what it is. Like every morning I get in, it's the same thing. I get up, I go to the gym. By the time I get back, I'm in the office by about 8:30. I have I have a little Red Bull, I have a water, I have an orange, I have some eggs, and I just get on the phone and go to 12, maybe 12:31, depending on how many calls I want to make that day.
I don't think that there's a lot of people out there that recognize there's a lot of agents go through life trials, whether it's a death in the family, whether it's a divorce, which that is very common, whether it's stupid decisions that make some financial stress, whatever it is. Yeah. So I that's not really a topic that's ever talked about. It's like you said, leave that at the doorstep. That's what you're told. And it's not always it's not always that easy to leave it at the doorstep. So what are some of the things that you were able to learn through that growing experience in order to just pretty much fight every single day to just move forward?
Honestly, Colton, I'd love to give you guys some kind of inspirational word that made it go, all right, if he did that, I can do that. Honestly, there was nothing I could do. I showed up every day. The only thing I could hold on to keep me sane from losing it was keep myself busy. For me, it was come in here and make these phone calls. So every day people were like, damn it, you're making these phone calls. And back then, early in the year, I wasn't doing a lot of business, but I showed up every day. People were like, why are you making phone calls? You should try doing this. You should do this. And all the naysayers. I was like, listen, I got a plan. I know what I'm doing. I'm sticking to it. I don't care if it doesn't work. I know it will work. I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to come in here every day and make phone calls. And every day I came in here, this is what kept me sane. But it was tough, man. And it's weird that as soon as that thing got over and that weight was off my shoulders, I started actually being effective again. And I didn't change anything. I didn't go, okay, now I did plan B and all of a sudden it's going crazy. It just that got over. So it was off my plate. Some people can let go of that stuff at the door. Personally, I couldn't. It just bothered me all the time. But as soon as it got over, it started getting better. And I got a feeling 2016 is going to be fucking nuts. You know what I mean?
I got a feeling it's going to be an amazing year for Mr. Lipski. One of the things that you said that reminds me of, if you ever read that book by Dale Carnegie, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, one of my favorite books of all time. He talks about how a lot of men get over worry is by staying busy, by doing something. So that was one of the things that you did, is you just stayed busy with what you knew how to do, and that was making phone calls. So you had your plan, and you followed the plan, you trusted the plan would work out, and then all of a sudden, boom, it snapped in 10 listings in 1 month. How is your business? The other day we were chatting on the phone. What's your December and January, or maybe it's your January, February looking like as far as commissions being paid?
December, January, looking at close to 70 grand within the next 30, 45 days.
And how does that make you?
Those 10 listings closing. Because remember, out here, the average price is 200 grand. It's not, you got to do a shitload of them. You know what I mean?
So how has that affected your mindset, knowing that you got 70 grand coming in?
It's good. It's good. You know what I mean? I roll back in December with KW, but that's pretty much going to be paid for me. So I know going into, like, December 1's my cutoff date where I start over again. So it's nice to be going to the spring market at 100%,
You know what I've noticed about a lot of the top producers that are on the Winning Series interviews, and even a lot of interviews, they all come from Keller Williams. What's up with that?
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea, dude. It is what it is. It's funny because people ask me stuff all the time. They're like, can I ask you a question? And I just want to let you know up front, I'm not with Keller Williams. I'm like, I don't care who you're from. Like, I'll answer whatever you want, dude. Whatever.
Dude, the thing about Keller Williams is we've got the Kool-Aid here, right? And once you take that sip, it's like you're in the family. I think that's part of what it is the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been drinking the Kool-Aid now for 8 months, and it's just like so delicious. Sorry. Yeah, you didn't know I'm back at KW, dude? Yeah, I'm at KW.
And you're back, and you're going here, and Colton Lindsay Enterprises. I don't know what's going on. All you know is you're making money.
Dude, that's all that matters. That's all that matters is you're making money, right? Like, that's a topic I want to touch on. Like, if anyone says that you're here to change the world, it's a fucking lie. You're here to make a lot of money, and in the process, you can empower a lot of people. But ultimately, you're not doing this for free, right?
It's like Ben Affleck says, man, I'm not here to save the fucking whales, guys. We're here to make money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's literally okay. So let's tie into that topic of which I've had a few people on here that really delve into this, and some people are kind of evasive with this question. And I know you're going to be more. I expect you to be more open with it. Is the subject and topic of your relationship with God? Tell me about that. I know you mentioned that the other day. Share with us a little bit about what your relationship with God is, how that's empowered you as an individual, personally, and with your business.
Good question. So I got after the divorce, I was kind of struggling with the divorce and what's going on, and kind of not knowing what to do, and just getting depressed, man. It's a depressing thing, and it's hard to even admit that, But yeah, go through depression on that. You see bad things happening, and you're like, man, and you're losing everything, and your business goes down. And what a lot of people don't understand is that when you're up high and you're doing a lot of business and people respect you, and you lose that, you feel like less of a man. That's part of you, and you're not as good producer. You go from being like number one, number two guy in the company to being number 13 or 14. Like, what the fuck? Like, how does this happen? So it takes away part of you, plus you're losing everything else. And you have kids, it just pulls at your heartstrings all the time. So it's a tough thing to go through. It was a hard thing to go through. But so then I found God, and I actually was dating a girl at the time, and she liked to go to church, and I didn't like the Catholic Church. I grew up on that. You know what I mean? I didn't like that. So I said, I'll go to church with you, but I want to try something that's more fun. So we went to a Christian church, and we had to go like 5 or 6 years before we found the church that we go to now. But it was really cool, man. Like, you get in there, and it's almost like a mini. The one I go to now, it starts with like a live band, they have lights. It's like a Zach Brown concert, and then the pastor comes in, and he's like a Tony Robbins guy. Like, he's like, hey, listen, here's a message for today. Here's how it relates to real world. Like, if you're on Facebook and this is going on, you should probably, he just relates it to current modern stuff. So it's not like a weird sermon for like 90-year-olds. It's like modern life stuff, and everyone's young. It's good energy. And you get a positive message. Plus, Joe Osteen, man, I can't say enough about that guy. Like, honestly, he's able to take scripture, and I'm not even, like, I couldn't quote you one scripture. I don't know any scriptures at all. You know what I mean? Like, except for like the Hail Mary and all that kind of stuff. But like, he tells you stuff, and I listen to it every day to XM radio every day. I don't care where I am. I don't put anything else on but Joel. And every morning I hear a message, man. Like, today's message was, and I think I put it up on Facebook. Say hi to the people that are invisible. They're not invisible. They're invaluable. The people that are bagging your groceries, the people that are, bringing oil to your house for heat, the people that are getting the carriages at the shopping mall. Like, these are the people that without them, we'd have a hard time. So it's nice to go up to them and say, hey, thanks for getting that. I appreciate it. Thanks for being part of this heating system that helps keep my house warm. Like, a lot of times you hear people and you're like, oh, this person can't help me, so I'll discount them. But literally, they're put in your place for a reason to talk to them. So all that's helped my relationship with God, and just sort of letting go of a lot of stuff going, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know what you want me to do, but I'll tell you what, I'm putting my life in your hands, and you guide me the way you want me to go. And since I've done that, it's just gotten better.
One of the things that I can't remember when it was earlier this year, you were here in Salt Lake, right? At speaking for Red X, which, by the way, did you say you're coming out again soon?
Yeah, we're gonna go up there next year, and we're gonna go fishing with the owner, Mark. Wicked nice guy. You'll have to come with us and check it out, man.
Do you know when that is?
No, not yet.
So probably closer to spring, summertime if we go fishing then. Because I doubt you. Yeah, who wants to go ice fishing? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe someone does. But one of the things I really noticed pretty quickly with you, and you noticed in Salt Lake, there seems to be a lot of panhandlers here in Salt Lake, right? And it seems like
you've never been there. It's this huge thing, but when you look at it, like, it's only like 8 blocks square or 10 blocks square. It's not a huge city.
Yeah, it's not big at all. And that was one of the things it seems like you always had money for like every panhandler. Is that something that you have always done in your life just to give, or is it like as you got closer to God again, is it something that you've been inspired to do?
I mean, I've always been sort of a generous guy, but as far as looking at that, I mean, it's pretty clear. You see someone standing in front of you and they have a sign that said help, and people are saying, well, God, show me a sign. Like, here's the guy that's like saying, help me. And I think the sign we saw with that lady was a lady in a baby carriage, and she had no money, and she was either a really good actor or she really needed it, but either way, she earned it. So I went out and gave her something. And then that other lady we saw trying to get the old lady kind of get caught in the trolley path, and you were like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, wait a minute, this lady's stuck. And she was like, oh, God, Sonny.
Well, I mean, I think that goes back to one of the things that, that was a huge lesson that I learned just from spending time with you is kind of paying attention to those those invaluable or those invisible or whatever you call them earlier from Joel Osteen, those people, and just making sure that you're giving back to them. Do you know who Chad Goldwasser is? You ever met him or spoke to him?
No.
He's a cool dude in Texas, and he talked about the idea of having 10,000 watt positive energy, and to give that energy not just to your team, to your clients, to the people you work with, your family, whatever, but to every single person that you come across during your day, whether it's the guy bagging your groceries or the little old lady cross. I mean, literally, Deric Lipski freaking walks a little old lady across tracks downtown Salt Lake. I mean, that's something you like people make up on Facebook, right? But like I literally watched you do it. And I mean, why? Like what inspires you to do that?
Dude, I don't know. God let me notice that person. Because normally, I'm not the guy who's going around helping everybody. I try to help anybody if I can. But I'll tell you a quick story that happened to me just recently. And I wasn't going to share this with you or anybody, but I figured it kind of maybe it helps somebody else. About 3 months ago, I sold a condo. And in this condo, the lady was a single woman. She needed help cleaning it out. So I got up there and helped her clean some of the stuff out in the attic. And one of the things she was cleaning out was a laundry basket full of Christmas ornaments, And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, let's just throw it away. I go, well, you don't need to throw this away. She's like, yeah, I'm just going to toss it. End of the day, I ended up keeping it and putting it in the garage. Coincidentally, I was selling a 3-family for another family, and one of the women that lived there, her daughter used to date the kid that lived at this condo. He died unexpectedly, and they have a kid together. And I sold the 3-family. She goes, Deric, just by the way, I swear this has happened. It's the weirdest thing. You wonder like why you're in places at a certain time. She goes, when you cleaned that condo out and you sold that condo for that girl, did you happen to see any Christmas ornaments? And I said, I may have. What were you looking for? She's like, well, this is the first year without her dad. She's only 6 years old, and her dad died, and he's only 28 years old. And there's some really important ornaments there, and we really like to have them back. And I said, I'll look. I don't know. And I went back to the garage. I forgot about it at the time. I went back to my garage and I saw them. And then yesterday I brought them to her, and you should have seen the look on their face, Colton. 6-year-old girl. Her dad only died 3 months ago. This is me, the first day without a dad, but they had a lot of dad and daughter first Christmas stuff, and they just started crying. It was like, man. It's tough to see that, I mean, there's no reward in it. There's no money in it. I wasn't going to tell you because that was going to be between me and God, something that I did, but it's just weird that you get put in places in certain ways and you're like, I don't know why it makes sense, why I'm doing this, or why would I take someone's trash? Like, why would I keep that? Like it probably only cost $15 worth of ornaments, but I was like, for some reason I was like, I'm just going to hold on to this. And I took it personally home, which was weird. And then I just gave it to her. And now I know why I had that feeling I wanted to do that.
So what do you, that's a pretty empowering story. What do you think has allowed you to just kind of listen to those little, Deric, do this? You know what I mean? Because very easily you could have heard that say, hey, Deric, keep these ornaments, and you could have just walked away, threw them away. Like,
I mean, I'm telling you, my house, dude, as soon as I get something, I'm throwing it away already. I didn't hold nothing, dude. I certainly don't hold other people's junk. And I held on to that for whatever reason. It wasn't no voice, wasn't it? Just something that said, hold on to this. And I gave it to her. I saw that girl's face, 6-year-old, and just kind of like, she didn't swell up or anything, cry, but just she kind of was holding her chin, shaking a little bit. And then the mother was really like, thanks a lot. It means a lot to us. And I was like, yeah, no problem. I walked out of there. And, again, I didn't want anything for it. After I left her, I felt really good. And I just said, now I know why you want me to do that, God. I don't know. I didn't know at the time. Couldn't figure it out. But now I'm like, wow, it's Christmas time and it's the first year. And really, it's even tough to even tell you a story. It's tough, to hear it,
That's pretty powerful, man. When you think about it, it's an amazing story. So let's break into a little bit of prospecting. Let's talk about, because I mean, you are one of North America's top expired prospecting agents right here, Deric Lipski. Tell us, what is the secret to calling expireds into really just being consistent with them, or even prospecting in general, and keeping that positive mindset while you're doing it?
Okay, so number one, the money is number one. You're like, hey, I got to make money. I got to pay my bills. Number two, is you have to set a schedule every day. Like, you need to have your things done. Like, you need to be calm between 8 and 12. I don't care what that is, and I don't care what else you do for the rest of the day. But that 4-hour block is your time to make money. And don't do what I did. Like, I remember originally, Ferry's like, when you prospect, don't ever interrupt it for nothing. No appointments. Turn your phone off. Listen, if you call somebody and they said, I need you to come down now, you hang up the phone and go down there. Or if someone says, come tomorrow at 9 o'clock, oh, that's my prospecting time. No, I used to do that. I lost listings. You get off like tomorrow, 9 o'clock, no problem. but whatever you erase, whatever you erase, you replace. So you go back and just make the calls later. But as far as when the prospect, you have to have thick skin, and you have to get a good trainer, right? Someone who's got to coach you through this, that's been through the path, and you have to get what me and you call your own voice. Like, it's nice to repeat stuff. That's the very beginning levels of this, where you're just being a parrot and you're trying to set people up to say this, and you can kind of close them with this. The next level is thinking of your own stuff and really listening to them, right? It's not a interrogation, it's a conversation. You're trying to keep this thing moving so that people feel comfortable, and it's hard to do because you have to listen to somebody, take their answer, agree to it, affirm it, and then give them a different way to go that moves you forward in the conversation, right? So that's a really important part of it. It's a hard skill to learn. You need someone who's very experienced at that, who can hone in on what's going on with you wrong, how do we fix it, how do I make you sharper, and how do I get that X factor, right? The Deric factor, the Colton factor, whatever that factor is in you, to come out and be who you're supposed to be, right? Don't copy anybody. It's nice to start with that, but what makes you special is what God put in you. Like, you're special because you have a way to talk to people. You just have to learn to be comfortable doing it.
Well, and that's what's funny. You bring up, scripts. How many times do you hear agents saying scripts aren't for me? Well, really, all of us, if you understand linguistic patterns, neurolinguistics, we all are reading a fucking script one way or another. And the reality is how can you just reprogram your script to something that's more powerful, right? And it's how many times have you heard on my FISBO videos, I say, hey, is that because you hate realtors or what is it, right? Like, that is something I say a lot of. I didn't fucking come up with it. Yeah, I didn't come up with that. I learned it from one of my mentors, Bob Leffler, right? And anything that I have is a mix of everyone that I've learned with and mentored with and trained with, and then I've developed my nest, my Colton, my that inner game, that person that you're talking about, right? So what are some tips on?
How much is your commission? I charge 100%. Is that okay?
That is something I definitely came up with on myself.
Use that line too.
Hey, half the time when I say shit like that, it's just like I just come up with crap off the top of my head, though, that like doesn't make any sense. Or like, what one of my favorites is? Maybe that's what we should do, is let's spend some time talking about some of our favorite lines. Let's do that, right? So
I just developed one yesterday, and I heard it on a movie. And I don't know how I'm going to use it yet, but I'll read it to you. It says, and I figured this is the way you'd be talking to a buyer, trying to get them to make an offer. It says, if you wait until the deal makes sense to everybody else, you will be waiting in line behind everybody else. I was like, that's a nice play on the words. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, like, what do you think? What do you think? By the time they say yes, you're going to be waiting in line behind everybody else trying to get the deal. You know what I mean? So I hear movies, I write them down, or I hear them on Facebook. I write them down, and I go, that's kind of cool. How can I tweak that?
One of my favorites is with a buyer is, hey, if you have to sleep on it, there's a good chance you're not going to be sleeping in it. You know what I'm saying? And then it kind of makes them laugh a little bit. And then I'm like, it is kind of funny, but it's the truth. So why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and write up an offer. Worst case scenario, you sleep on it tonight and you back out tomorrow, right? And that it's all about getting them to move forward and making that decision. So here, let's go. What's one of your favorite lines with expires?
So my opening line is usually one that makes people laugh. They say something like, I'm taking a break from the market. I'm like, oh, you're taking a break from all the offers?
Yeah, I've heard you say that one. That is a good one. One of my favorites is when they say, you're like the 100th agent into the call or whatever. And this is I ask them the magic question, and they're like, well, I just don't see how that's going to work. You ever heard someone say that? I don't see how that's going to work. I always say something like this. I'm like, you know what? Most people don't even see how the light bulb works, and yet they flip the switch on and it works every single day, right? So let's do this. Let's get together. Let's flip the switch and let's get your house sold. And so that's one of my favorite lines. I don't know if you've ever used it or heard me say, but I love that one.
Yeah, no. What's another one that I had the other day I was using that I liked?
What about the honeymoon one?
Yeah, that's a good one too.
How long you been? Yeah, let's hear that. Do the honeymoon.
Still use that one today. I mean, that's again, all these lines. It's funny. People always ask me if I'm sure you get the same thing because you get known as a script master as I do, and I get sort of stereotyped at these different events I go to, like, you're on the scripts panel, and it's like Stump Deric, and they have a line of people lined up with like these crazy objections, and I'm like, oh God. But you just try to take them all down. What some people don't understand is that a line like that, right? You just use is used in a specific situation. Some people say, well, what do you say when someone says this? And I go, well, what is it? Well, first come in the scenario. Is it a FISBO? Is it expired? Like, where are you? Are you there? Are you on the phone? Because it's good to know that there's a different way to handle each one depending on a bunch of different factors, right? You know that. Like, you wouldn't use this line on that same objection on the phone if you're in person because it doesn't make sense. You're there to take them down at that point, right?
Yeah. The
honeymoon ones, basically, if no one else doesn't know the line, is if they say, well, I need to talk to my husband. I'll say, oh, okay. How long you guys been married? 5 years. Oh, I guess the honeymoon's over. And they'll laugh and like, yeah, it's over. And I'd say, that makes sense. And let me ask you, what's he going to say when you tell him you have a great agent who can get him top dollar in the next 35 days? What's he going to say when you tell him you set up an appointment with that person? They'll say, well, he probably doesn't believe it or he'd be excited about it. They'll say, let's do this. Let's set the appointment now for 5 o'clock. You talk to him tonight. After that conversation, he says, honey, it doesn't make sense to work with a realtor who can get us top dollar and get us to Florida in the next 30 days. Then when I call you tomorrow, we'll cancel it. Fair enough? And they usually say yes, right?
Yeah, that's a great one. I was trying to think what other, man, it feels like when I'm on the spot, I can't think of any. What's that?
The commission one is good too that I use a lot where they say, what's your commission? And I always say, number one, I'll lead off with sometimes with yours, which I charge 100%. Is that okay? No. So I break ice with a little bit of laughter. And then I say, you know what? if I come out there and like what I have to say, are you prepared to negotiate a commission that's fair for you, fair for me, and will cause the home to sell? Well, yes. See you at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, think about this too. I want to go with the idea of when they say something and if you handle it or not, right? I mean, talk about too with these guys the difference of when to use an objection handler and when to shelf even having to deal with it.
Right. So
does that make sense?
Typically, the rule for that is in the beginning. If it's the first time you hear that objection, now wait in the spring. You wait in the spring. That makes sense. And when the home does sell for you, where are you moving to next? Right. I shelved it. I didn't take that down. I just shelved it and kept going. If they said that maybe another time, then I have to take that person down at that if I feel it's going to be an appointment.
Yeah. So it's recognizing what part of the conversations is, and even if it's a real objection or if they're just saying something, right? And one of the things that I've found is like it's just getting your question answered, right? You can handle almost any objection just by saying, hey, let me ask that question a different way. And then I will literally ask the same question over 2 or 3 times till they hear it, because the first 2 or 3 times they just didn't hear it, right? They were so focused on trying to get me off the phone or get me out of their face.
Well,
let's see.
The other line they like is when they say like you expired. It says you're the 20th person to call me. It's say you guys were all the same, and I'd say, well, we're all. And I always play on their word a little bit. I go, we're all seeing the same thing. It's a good house. It should have sold. What do you think stopped it from selling? So I basically shelved that, but I also shelved it with a handler. That's sort of a hybrid of both on that one.
Well, I think a lot of times is recognizing you're probably going to say something stupid before you get to say something good. I mean, I can't tell how many times I've said something stupid on the phone that I'm just like, why did I say that, right? And have you ever said something stupid on the phone?
Always. Look at me.
So, yes. So be okay with saying something stupid. The reality is if you can always come back with a question, keep the conversation going, phase shift, and have the conversation flow and continually, be on that call. I think that's really important to point out. Keep the conversation going.
Well, and I think also a lot of brokers need to know, like, and you get this from experience, is this person bullshitting me or do they really want to sell? Like, are they really waiting spring for a condition? And should I back the home off and try to say, I'm going to make contact later? Or do I think they're going to be open to put it back on the market now? I mean, it really, that just comes with experience. You know what I mean? This guy does, because you hate those ones where you call them, they say, wait until spring, you go, okay. And then a week later, you see your buddy listed. You're like, are you kidding me? They told me they wanted.
Yeah. Especially with expireds. I think expireds are probably the most challenging in whether you can really believe them or not, right? FISBOs, to me, you wouldn't have a sign in your yard if you didn't want to sell it. But an expired, well, maybe something did really change. You start to believe them. And really, they're just telling you a story.
What's
your best
line for a FISBO when she says, I don't need an agent?
Oh, shit, you got me on the spot. Okay, I can definitely understand that you don't need an agent. Fuck, dude, you put me on the spot. I'm freezing. Yeah. Well, at what point, let me ask you this, at what point would they bring it up in the conversation?
Maybe in the beginning. You know what I mean? I mean, you used to tell me, well, you put it back on them. What's the disadvantage of using an agent, right? You kind of just throw it back on them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, typically if they bring it up in the beginning, I usually just ignore it and shelf it, right? But if they bring it up later on after I've closed a few times, and this is when you're really, really aggressive and hungry for it, I would always do that. Well, what's the disadvantage of using an agent? I mean, let's say they say, hey, you know what? I don't really see the purpose of using an agent. If I do not succeed in selling in the next 30 days, I have an agent I'm going to hire. Like that's you hear a combination of something like that, right? And you say, okay, well, what's the drawback of having an opinion from a powerful agent like myself now versus waiting in 30 days? And then they'll come up with something, right? Because they don't really know what the hell they're talking about. They're just giving you stuff. And you always go back to what's the major drawback or what's the disadvantage or how's an advantage for you to do this? And advantage, disadvantage, and drawback. Those are three major terms that I think you could use with those. Absolutely, every time. So what's the major drawback of using an agent now versus waiting?
Yeah, that's the line you use, right?
Yeah. So you just froze me a little bit, Deric.
Something like with them, I'm just like, well, I always just agree. I'm like, you know, that's good back to East Coast thing. You guys are total agreement. Like East Coast, we're like, we want to fight through it. You guys are like, that's the one thing I learned from you guys, man. It's just total agreement. Like, yeah, no, I totally get it. And I'd be very assumptive. You don't really care who sells it as long as you get your net, right? Yeah. And then once they agree to that, I'm going to go, well, let me come out and show you what I do. And I'll make the same, maybe even a bit more in this market, right? I love using that teaser. Maybe even a bit more, even after commission. I can come by today at 5 or tomorrow at 6. You know, again, that's a test close to this day, and we'll go to the next objection from there. But I love just to agree with everything they say and just fucking try to use their own language against them.
One thing, too, that's really powerful with a for sale by owner, and I don't know if expireds, I wouldn't say I'm an expired expert by anything, but for sell by owner, I try to get that first closeout really, really quickly, right? So I'll ask, I say, hey, my records indicate your house is for sell by owner. Is that true? They say yes. Great. How much you asking for it? $350. Awesome. When you sell your house, where you moving to next? Blah, blah, blah. So let me ask, if you could sell your house in the next 30 days and it made sense financially, would you list your house with me? And I know that a lot of people don't like that line. I even expect to know from when I ask that question, but it gets them to say, it gets them to at least get used to me closing to them, right? And surprisingly enough, like I've come across a handful of FSBOs who are like, yeah, we would. Well, great. Would today at 3 work or 5 o'clock be better? And you just close them right there immediately. So close pretty quickly with for sale by owners just to get that out of the way, right? Yeah. Just close very quickly for the meeting. And then it softens them up for later on when you actually really close for the appointment.
Dude, when I first came here, like they had like a system for sale by owners. It was the weirdest thing. Like it was like a 7-week thing you're supposed to do for FSBOs. I don't think KW even offers anymore. And if I dug it up, I'd find it. But like week 1, you go there, you did yourself. Week 2, you go by there with like a lead paint form going, you're probably going to need this. I'm trying to help you. Week 3, you do this. I'm like, this sucks, dude. One of the things I learned about you was when you call, you're calling them like expired. You're closing them that day. And that's one of the most questions I get when people ask me about calling a FSBOs. Deric, how long do you take? Do you nurture these guys that go, fuck no, man, I'm taking them down that day. I try to pound them that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, not to say that I don't have a follow-up system because I don't get every single one of them.
I know.
But more.
Going for the juggler, the kill every time anyway. You try.
Yeah. What's the whole point of being on the phone? To schedule a friggin' appointment, right? Like there's no other reason. You're not calling just to touch base with them, just to see, hey, you're ready to fucking meet now? No, you're, hey, would a day at 3 o'clock work, or is 5 o'clock a little bit better for you? I mean, that's the whole point of the conversation. Exactly. Absolutely.
That was the big thing to get over with FSBOs. I didn't like them until I learned that from you. I'm like, all right, I'm going after these fucking things.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I can't tell you how many times that for sell by owners want to meet with you and they actually want to use an agent. They just don't mentally see how it's a benefit, or they met. Here's the biggest one. I can't tell me for sell by owners I've listed that they met with their friend that was an agent first, and they didn't like how the numbers they were looking at with their friend. And then I'll come in and be like, hey, yeah, I can definitely get this for you. And they're like, great, let's do it. And I'll sell it in a week, and they get what they want. I get what I want, and they're happy. And it's because they got bad information, right? People that are going for sell by owners, they make educated decisions. Just doesn't mean it was the right education that they got to make their decision to go for sell by owner. And when you have an agent like Deric Lipski or myself, or in the top 1% that know the market really well, they can be a lot more upfront, which isn't. I mean, you're not going to go though to an expired or a FSBO, Deric, knowingly overprice their home, right? You're going to tell them the reality of where their price is and give them the choice to hire you or not, right? You're not going to say, let's say it's worth $250, and they would hire you if you listed it at $275, right? You're not going to say, oh, great, let's do it at $275. How would you handle that?
No, I don't. I mean, I walk away from all the time. I mean, if I go on 4 and I take 2, it's because the other 2 either didn't like me or I didn't want to deal with it. I'm not going to – it's hard enough to sell the ones that we think are priced right, let alone we know overpriced, That's only comes with experience. When you're young, you just take whatever. Like, just get a bunch of them. Maybe I get some buyer calls. That's how people, make it okay in their brain. And I was on a panel recently with some of the KW agents, and they said that, well, if there's motivation and this is going on, and I get all that, but they're like, maybe I take a listing that's 400, but I take it for 500. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, why?
500?
I'm like, that makes no sense to me that you do that, but we think differently,
Yeah, I would never do that. I mean, it's just a waste of my freaking life.
Houses and, you want drone videos, and I'm like, I'm not spending money on this thing.
Drone video. Yeah. I can't believe how many times I've been asked about drone videos for a $150,000 house in a place that I don't even feel comfortable driving down the street with my doors unlocked. You know what I mean? It's like, why?
I get the same kind of listings, dude. If there's a drone in the sky above their house, people start dumping shit down the toilet and come out with guns. You're like, I'm not going to drone video. They think it's NYPD coming in there for a drug press. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, this freaking cracks me up.
There's a guy, and I get $1 million listing. I get all that stuff, and that's fantastic. But honestly, for this area, it's not. For me, it's not it. Like a month from now, you're like, Derek's put up all these drone videos.
That's probably just the only reason if we ever see Deric Lipski drone videos is because you bought a drone and you love playing around with it, right? So you're like,
yeah, it's right here. Yeah. Look at this little way we can find this. Look at this little thing, dude. I bought this thing. I buzz all the people in the office with this thing. Watch this. Hold on. Give this thing go. You can see this. Oh, no, it's not gonna go.
Oh, well, that's an awesome drone, dude.
I buzz out. It has blinking lights on it and stuff. I buzz all the realtors in here with that thing.
Does that got a remote control and everything?
Yeah, it's like a little remote drone. It's like a micro.
Oh, dude, I gotta get me one of those.
Yeah.
Cool, dude. Well, we've been on for almost an hour, so let's look to wrap this up. First of all, where can people connect with you if they want to send any referrals out to Easton, Massachusetts and Mr. Lipski, or just to connect with you and see what else you got going on?
Yeah, you can always hit me on Facebook under my name, Deric Lipski. You guys can go to Cold Calling, go on YouTube, type in Cold Calling. I pretty much own the whole front page of that. You'll see my videos. You can email me there. You can call me 508-326-5320, my cell phone, or you can email me, DericLipski@gmail.com.
Awesome. So anything else you want to finalize or wrap up with this interview today? Say to everyone.
Listen, if I could say anything to anybody here, if you're watching this video, you're a cold caller. If you know nothing else about when to call and what to call, make sure on January 1, you get in the office early and you pound the phones, because I can guarantee you will thank me for it come March and April.
Yeah, and you'll make a lot of money March and April, right? Because really,
get coaching.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, and what about a dialer system? Do you use dialers?
I do. I use RedX.
Okay, so you're is that the Storm or what's it called?
I have Mojo. I mean, I have them both actually. So I know Dave. I hooked up with Dave, and I know Mark over at RedX. So I use them both, and it's really what you want. People, there's RedX, there's Mojo, there's Vulcan. I personally prefer the RedX for the expired, so I've just used it forever. You know what I mean? It's a good system. But Mojo makes a hell of a product too. You can't take anything away from those guys. I mean, they were dialer first,
Yeah, absolutely. And personally, I don't use RedX. I'm Mojo all the way. That's what I've used for since 2009 or 10 or something like that. And that's the thing I use. So guys, thanks for watching today. Make sure that you guys go check out my website, Winning the Inner Game. Get on my personal email list. Also go to fearlessagent.com. That is something that has totally revolutionized my business. And it's right now revolutionizing real estate training at a whole nother level, because it is the most affordable coaching and training program out there, number one, but B, it's probably the most impactful because it gives the average guy a leg up. The guy like me, I mean, I started with nothing. I did no knowledge in sales at all, and it was able to take me to top 1% in my marketplace. Also get with Mojo because it's a product you can't live without. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.